Hey y'all, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona, oldpueblocoin.com, tucsoncoinshow.com too, and join us for the Tucson Coin Show in January. And thanks for being here today. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe because that is the YouTube way. All right, today we have a question from Indivisible Man. Are Planchet flaws details grade? Are Planchet flaws detail grade? So let me tell you, first of all, for those of you who are new to coin collecting, what is a planchet and what's a flaw? What is he talking about? So a planchet is the piece of metal before it gets struck and made into a coin. So they don't just take big sheets and start popping them out in their coins. First they take big sheets and then they make the planchets. The planchets go through the machine and get struck one at a time. So a planchet flaw would usually be something along the lines of the planchet is either splitting, or possibly it has some type of a cut on it, which is like an area, a raised area that gets raised up during the striking process. And these happen once in a while as mint errors. And his question was whether or not these are details grade. So there's the opinion factor here, which is, in my opinion, they should all get a grade. So I can't think of a planchet flaw that I've ever seen that didn't deserve to have a grade assigned to it, right? And you've seen PCGS are the grading companies people use most frequently for grading coins, getting them certified, putting them into holders. And so what matters is not my opinion, but what they say. So with that, PCGS says that metal impurity or defect in the planchet, small, unobtrusive planchet flaws are acceptable. Large, obvious, poorly placed, or distracting flaws are rejected. Context is also important. Planchet flaws on certain U.S. colonial coins are expected. Planchet flaws on Morgan silver dollars are not. All right, so I find this to be really interesting. They go on to say in another area, these coins have metal impurity defects in the planchet. Small, non-destructive flaws might be acceptable, but large, distracting ones are not. These coins will not be encapsulated by PCGS and given a details grade. So a little confusing there because it says they won't be encapsulated, but then says it can get a details grade. So basically the answer for PCGS is it completely depends. It's up to them. And they've given you some context. Obviously, earlier U.S. coinage is looked at differently. So I talk about the primacy of a coin. What is the beginning of the coin? What did it look like when it was made? So that context is important for almost anything that we're looking at, right? So it's very common for early U.S. coins to have really rough planchets when they were struck. So they kind of have to let it go. It's kind of like the argument, I think, in some sports where they can't call all the fouls. So when you play a team that's really aggressive and fouls a lot, that the refs eventually just kind of swallow the whistle a little bit. Like it's the same concept. Well, all of these coins have planchet flaws, so we're just going to grade them because that's how they all come. And that's very different than you get a series where the coins, 100 years later, the planchet business was way better. They had really nice, smooth planchets, and you didn't see as flaws as many times. And so that is the context that they're talking about there. Once again, whether or not I agree with a coin getting a grade or not, like I said, I think I can't think of a planchet flaw that I've ever seen that I wouldn't want a numeric grade on. And here's the other difference. They talk about encapsulating or not and putting a numeric grade or not a numeric grade. So sometimes you'll see them put it in a holder still, but they'll say, AU details planchet flaw. So they won't give it a numeric grade. Now, one of the reasons for that, by the way, to dig a little deeper than what's just here, is that the logic goes like this. Well, you can't really assign it a grade because this flaw interferes with understanding what the grade of the coin should be. I mean, there are arguments to be made for it. I just tend to think put a grade on it. I think that's okay. And in the meantime, here comes NGC's comments on mint-made irregularities. Coins are sometimes flawed as made. NGC, as a general rule, will not assign numeric grades to coins having minor flaws, such as rim clips or laminations. Major mint errors, such as off-centered coins and wrong planchets, are graded under NGC's regular tiers as mint error coins. One other thing to note, both NGC and PCGS, if you want a coin graded as a mint error, you have to check a box, pay an extra fee. I think it's currently $18 right now. You pay extra, and then it becomes a mint error, and they'll go ahead and put the label on it. Okay, so interesting here also to me, because I've always found it interesting that they'll grade like raw planchets and off centers with a numeric grade, because I find those extremely difficult to grade, because the planchets have all these hits on them that were made when the planchets were made, and that's a very different look than after coin's been struck, right? And so we even did a little video on planchet flaw on planchets having those hits and then being struck. The planchet gets struck, and then you can see the little divots from when the planchets were made. Okay, planchet flaw. NGC goes on, describes a void or lamination separation in a coin's planchet as made. Obverse planchet flaw and reverse planchet flaw provide a guide to the problem's location. Clipped planchet refers to a portion missing from the edge of a coin's planchet. A large missing area is gradable as a mint error, while very small clips will result in a details grade only. We do have an announcement, a quote here also from CAC, grading the planchet flaw. These coins exhibit signs of planchet deficiency, impurity, or contamination. The severity can determine whether or not the coin goes through the encapsulation process. Planchet flaw is reserved for less severe cases where we will encapsulate the coin. So once again, just looking at how the grading companies handle it, they all basically have said it's a judgment call. We're going to grade coins kind of in this realm, this planchet flaw realm, how we want to, but we've given you some definitions for what we do. So if you're thinking about sending a coin in to get certified that has some type of planchet flaw, or if it's off-center or clipped planchet, you can go to NGC, PCGS, or CAC's website, get a little refresher on what they say. Go ahead and feel free to call them and say, hey, will you actually put a numeric grade on this coin or not? Or are you just going to put it in a holder and just say planchet flaw? And, that is, find out ahead of time. By the way, at the time this video is made, this is the current information from 2024. So if you watch this video in 5 years, you might have to find brand new information. That's why I say check with the grading companies and their websites. But once again, my opinion is put a grade on it, man. This is not, to me, that's not that hard of a thing to do. Just that's why the collectors are sending coins in. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.